Welcome back to Tom's DIY Garage, and if we have not yet met, I'm Tom. Glad to have you. Nice to meet you. The name of the game here is figuring out how to do things yourself, whether it's because you have to or because you want to or a little bit of both. There is great satisfaction in being able to say, I did that. So we're going to do that this week. You may have noticed, looking around, we're not in the normal workshop environment, and there are a couple of reasons for that. Number one, it's just really hot out there, uncomfortable. And number two, this week's projects bring us indoors. So we're going to take advantage of the air conditioning. Lucky us. So the theme this week revolves around electricity and doing electrical things. It can be really intimidating for a lot of very good reasons, and there are certainly jobs that you absolutely must and should hire a professional electrician to do it because you want that professional expertise to get the job done correctly. But there are also some things that you can do for yourself. The tipping point there, you want to make sure that you don't live in a community that requires you hire the electrician, and you live in a place that allows you to take care of things yourself, little things. So we're going to do a couple of those little things that might seem intimidating for a lot of folks, but I think are pretty reasonable, pretty easy as well. And since I have a bunch of references, DIY references, I pulled out my well-worn copy of Wiring 123 from Home Depot. It's not a product placement, it's just where I got the book. I have had this book for more than 20 years because I'm not a day-to-day electrician, and when I need to remind myself how to do something, this is a great place. And of course, in the world of YouTube and the internet, that is a great resource as well, just to familiarize yourself with what you're going to do. So here we go. The first job comes from the receptacles and switches chapter, where we're going to take out something old and put in something new. Our focus is this switch. It turns on this lamp in our office that is just really bright. To fix that, I'm going to replace this switch with a dimmer, which is very self-explanatory. It dims the lights, all on, all off, or something in between. That way you can get some mood lighting in the office, which sounds great. Before going any further though, it is critical you turn off the electricity. For that, go to the breaker box. Mine's on the side of the house, yours might be in the garage, and find the one that corresponds to what you are working on. In my case, it says dining room, pantry, foyer, porch, garage. That is number 20. Turn it off. No electricity. While Xander the shop dog keeps us company, you want to make sure that you get the right device for the job. In this case, this particular dimmer is designed for a couple of different applications. We are looking for a single pole switch. That's one switch and one fixture, one light, as opposed to a three-way, which is maybe two switches controlling one light. Think a switch on either side of the room, but this is the one we're going for. And inside the package, very straightforward. The device has all the wires you need for the two different applications. It has connectors because you want to make sure the electricity goes where it's supposed to and doesn't go where it's not supposed to. And then there are some pretty easy to understand instructions to get you through the job. I've got this tool bag set aside for minor electrical work, doing a switch, maybe a lamp, maybe a ceiling fan. I'm sure a professional electrician would look and see what I have in here and say, dude, that is not nearly enough. And he's probably right, she's probably right for their work, but it gets me through. So looking through here, these are important. Little voltage checker to make sure that the electricity is really off. Some pliers, these are wire cutters amongst other things. Also needle nose pliers. And I also have an electrician's screwdriver. It's got a rubber handle that helps shield you and protect you from any errant electricity you might find. In real time, you start by taking off the plate. Decorative. It hides all the electricity. Take that off. And then you see, if you've never looked inside here, there's the switch inside a receptacle. So next, You want to take it out. Okay, so those screws have been loosened. You take it out, and here's what we're looking at. So before you go any further, we know we went to the junction box and we turned the breaker off, but you want to make sure that the electricity is off. So you have a little voltage meter here, and it simply checks whether or not there's electricity. So you put one end on an open wire, the other end on an open wire, and this up here would glow if there was electricity. There's no glow, that means there's no electricity. We are clear to go. So another thing I notice as I look at this is that switches these days have a couple of different options available to them. Typically, and I think professionally from what I've read, the wire should be screwed into these terminals here. But there is also an option to just basically plug the line directly in. There's a little hole there. It's hard to see, but I am told by electricians that this particular option is not as secure and is not preferred. I'm going to guess that this was done this way because when this house was being built, the name of the game was to build it as quickly as possible and move on to the next one. So cleanest, easiest way to handle this is to simply cut these wires and start over. There is a way to pull those out, but this is done. So here are our two wires. They've been cut and stripped. They're ready to go. So we bring in our new switch here. So you'll remember that we noted that this switch is designed to be used where there are two switches controlling the same light fixture or just one switch controlling the same light fixture. Since we are the one pole variety here, this wire here, and they're all color coded, this is black, red, and it's hard to see, but this has got red with a white stripe on it. This is the one that we won't need. So, smart thing is to just cover it with that connector, and it just makes sure that that wire doesn't come into play at all. So then we go on to connecting our two wires, our power to the switch. Pretty simple. We're going to start with this one, and typically you twist it again. I bumped the camera, sorry. It's tight quarters here. You just want to have a good solid connection. And the angle I'm working at with the camera here is kind of preventing that a little bit, but you get the idea. Just so that they're well connected. And then this connector. And you spin that on there, screw it on there, and that keeps those wires together. Then you do the other one, same way. Just kind of twist that around like that. Put the wire connector on there. And technically, that's done. But there's another smart thing to do in addition to this, because it's just good practice. And you don't want to leave any possibility that those wires could touch something they're not supposed to. So, take some electrical tape. Not a lot. It's what, about 2.5 inches there? And then you want to wrap each of these connectors, just so it locks that connector on there and it keeps anything from getting in to touch those wires that should not be touching those wires. Probably wouldn't happen, but again, this is just good practice. From what I understand from professional electricians, doing it the right way every time reduces the opportunity that there's a mistake and that somebody gets hurt. And because electricity is what it is, a mistake can really leave somebody hurt. So you don't want to do that. All right, so those are connected. And then finally, we want to connect the ground wires together. Again with the spin. The connecting nut. And the ground wire is less of a danger for that whole errant touch, but since we're here, we might as well just put that on there. Okay, so we're connected. Now all of this needs to go into there. And you don't want to, this box, it takes up a lot of space in there, so things are going to get jumbled up a bit. So just kind of have to give it a nudge. Just kind of push like that. All right? Just kind of give it some memory on where it's supposed to go. And then you take your screwdriver and you attach this back in to the receptacle box. And technically, that switch is done. Last thing to do is to put the plate back on. And here's a trick. There is no hard and fast rule, but there is a custom amongst electricians that this screw, the faceplate screws, when you leave them in a vertical position. Not off at an angle, not horizontal, but vertical. It just, again, there's no requirement, but every electrician I've ever dealt with, from my advanced amateur dad, God rest his soul, to real electricians, they leave those screws vertical. Just do it, it looks better. Then go back to your breaker box and turn the electricity back on. Then go back to the switch, and lo and behold, the lights will work and dim to whatever your needs are. This next one is something I think a lot of people just wouldn't bother themselves with, and that's fixing a broken lamp. The switch on this one just doesn't work. It's one of those little twisty, turny things, and it makes the light flicker, but it doesn't stay on. A lot of people, I think, might be inclined to just say, oh, there's the lamp, time to go get a new one. It's really an easy fix though. Quick trip to the box store, Home Depot, Lowe's, whatever. You can get a new switch. All you gotta do is be willing to switch it out. See what I did there? And put the new one in. So very, very simple. We'll kind of go through the process here. You want to take the shade off, and I don't know what this little deal here is called, but it holds the shade around the lamp. Pretty simple. Take the bulb out, we'll put that back a little bit later. Put the glasses on so I can see up close. And with this, unless you do this all the time, you kind of have to feel your way through it because you're just not entirely sure how all of the pieces fit together. So on this particular one, the top screws off, then you want to get a little slack in the cord so that you can see where it's connected. And this one appears to have those cables like the other one, just kind of stuck in there. We're going to see if we can pull that out. kind of coming out. It's kind of a friction grab sort of deal. All right, that one's out. And that one's out. Dead switch. And then we have the two ends of the cable, hard to see from there. There they are, just like that. So you'll take those in your new switch. Come on a little closer. There you go. And this one has actual screws that you tighten around the cables, the wires there. I struggle sometimes. Is it a cable? Is it a wire? Is it a wire? Is it a cable? We're gonna go with wires. And you tighten these down with a Phillips screwdriver. So we will take one. Put it on there. See, I'm inclined to think that there's just not enough to grab onto there. So we're gonna take our wire cutters again, not wire cutters, but our wire strippers. We're gonna strip just a little bit more off of that. This is the base, the original base. We gotta unscrew that because we can't use that. There we go. New base. Goodness. Part of the DIY process is that because you are rarely an expert in these things, you kind of have to feel your way through and make some mistakes along the way. You can't be afraid to do that. So that just screws right on there just like that. There you go. And there is a set screw. Tighten that down so that it stays put. You don't have to torque it down really tight. And then let's go back to connecting our wires. To the leads on the switch. Again, this is very, very simple. This is all real time. This is a couple minutes work. And in this case, you're gonna have a lamp back in service. And if you like the lamp, yay, you can use the lamp again. Tighten that lead. Okay. Now we go back to putting the cover back on. It slides right on there, just like that. I'm going to pull the slack on the wires that you brought in so you could do this job. And then this just kind of locks in like that. Did you hear that click? Pull the bottom out like that. Put our shade holder frame, again, I don't know what it's called. It's the name I gave it. Back in. Put the light bulb back in. Put the shade on. Plug it in, and hopefully this works. Ta-da! We got light again. We can use the lamp. Just like magic, a couple of pretty easy projects and fairly basic tools. You've made life just a little nicer around the house. We have mood lighting now, a lamp that works again, both good things for a fairly low time commitment. I showed it to you in real time so you get some sense of how long this sort of thing might take. Best of all, there's a real sense of self-reliance, being able to do it yourself which is what this is all about. So if you've got some thoughts about what I did here today, or maybe something you're considering as well, maybe you'd like some advice, maybe you'd like to tell me what I did wrong, I'll take it all. Hit me up on email, hit me up on Facebook, Twitter/X. I look forward to hearing from you. Until that time, I'll put my head together to come up with the next project from Tom's DIY Garage. I'll see you then.